Have you ever wondered, perhaps silently during a sleepless night, if what you continue to do almost without thinking is still right for your age? Not out of shame, not out of guilt, but as a sincere question that lingers. You are not alone. Thousands of men over 60 live with this question, but few admit it openly. We talk easily about blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, even hormones like testosterone. But when the conversation shifts to self pleasure, silence, embarrassment, and often confusion immediately follow. So let's address it together with the clarity of a doctor. What really happens to your prostate every day after 60? Is it a habit that is slowly harming you, as some common misconceptions suggest? Or could it be a form of natural protection that no one has ever fully explained to you? Before we delve into the explanations, I ask you one thing. If you want to support this space of truth and health, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and write a phrase in the comments that becomes a personal commitment. I propose this. I take care of my health every day. It's a small gesture, but it helps strengthen your determination. For generations, men have heard conflicting stories on this topic. Some have heard that self pleasure drains vital energy, others that it causes prostate inflammation, or even worse, that it can promote the onset of tumors. The problem is that most of these beliefs stem from fears and superstitions, not scientific observations. And when fear takes the place of science, men stop asking real questions, suppress what belongs to their biology, and even worse, risk avoiding habits that could actually prove beneficial. The truth is that today we no longer need to rely on legends. Modern medicine allows us to observe real data and understand the mechanisms concerning male health after a certain age, and what emerges is surprising. Let's see together why the act of ejaculating regularly, even after 60, not only does not pose a risk, but in many cases becomes an important support for prostate health. Why can frequent ejaculation protect the prostate? There are three key mechanisms that a urologist would explain simply. First point, clearing the ducts. The prostate is a gland that produces part of the seminal fluid. When long periods pass without ejaculation, these secretions tend to accumulate. Stagnation can increase oxidative stress and create an environment favorable for small chronic inflammations. It's a bit like a water pipe that hasn't been used for weeks. Um, what stagnates can cloud the inside. Regular release, on the other hand, keeps the flow cleaner and more functional. Second point, reducing inflammation and cortisol. Ejaculation, when it occurs in a state of relaxation and naturalness, helps lower cortisol levels, the stress hormone. After 60, this becomes crucial because elevated cortisol is linked to chronic inflammation, high blood pressure, and weakening of the immune system. A balanced sexual rhythm, even alone, can help keep general inflammation levels lower and offer relief, especially to those suffering from benign prostatic enlargement. Third point, stimulating circulation and pelvic nerves. Just as muscles need movement to stay toned, the reproductive system also needs activity to preserve function. Ejaculation aids circulation in the pelvic area, strengthens nerve signals, and keeps tissues exercised. With advancing age, blood flow tends to decrease, which can compromise not only sexual function, but also the health of the prostatic tissues themselves. Periodic and conscious release supports these physiological mechanisms. Does frequency really matter? A question many ask is, can you overdo it? The answer is yes and no. If the act becomes compulsive, driven by anxiety, boredom, or nervousness, then the body sends signals of fatigue, disturbed sleep, decreased energy, loss of interest immediately afterward. In that case, self pleasure stops being a support for health and becomes a response to stress. Conversely, if you feel relaxed afterward, mentally lighter, and your body remains stable, it means you are in tune with your biology. It's not a competition. It's not about hitting numbers, but about listening to what your body communicates. Many men over 65 wonder if these rules still apply to them. The answer is yes. Biology doesn't disappear with age. In fact, maintaining good circulation, stimulating pelvic nerves, and promoting a balanced hormonal rhythm becomes even more important with aging. Of course, a gentler approach is needed without haste or forcing, but the principle remains the same. Ejaculation is not just pleasure, it's also maintenance. Not enough on its own. It's important to emphasize self pleasure alone is not the complete solution to prostate problems. It's a useful tool, but it's part of a broader picture. Prostate health also depends on diet, physical activity, sleep, and stress management. If you regularly allow yourself moments of release but fill your day with inflammatory foods, smoking, sedentary behavior, and sleepless nights, the benefits will not be enough. And this is exactly where I want to take you, building a global vision of prostate health that doesn't stop at the single act, but embraces daily lifestyle. In the next steps, I will guide you through the fundamental pillars: protective nutrition, daily movement, restorative sleep, managing inflammation, and the emotional burden related to shame. We've seen how regular ejaculation can support prostate health, but it's just one piece of a much larger mosaic. The prostate is a small gland, yet extremely sensitive to everything that happens in the body. What we eat, how we move, the quality of our rest, and even how we deal with stress directly reflect on its balance. Many men think that the prostate gets sick due to bad luck or because aging inevitably means urinary and sexual problems. In reality, biology tells us the opposite. With correct habits, we can significantly influence the longevity and functionality of this gland. Nutrition that protects and calms the prostate. The first major area concerns food. The prostate responds with great sensitivity to what we consume every day. There are nutrients that inflame it, and others that, on the contrary, protect and strengthen it. One of the most studied elements is lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that gives the red color to tomatoes, watermelon, and pink grapefruit. Lycopene can reduce oxidative stress in prostate cells, protecting them from damage that over time can promote enlargement or degeneration. The interesting thing is that lycopene becomes even more active when tomatoes are cooked, for example, in sauce. Including a few cooked tomato-based dishes in your weekly diet is not just a Mediterranean tradition. It's also a preventive measure. Alongside lycopene, we cannot forget the polyphenols in green tea, molecules with anti-inflammatory action that reduce degenerative processes at the cellular level. A daily cup of green tea, perhaps in the morning, becomes a silent but powerful ally. Other valuable foods include fatty fish like sardines and salmon, rich in omega-3s. These good fats counteract systemic inflammation, protect blood vessels, and support circulation, including pelvic circulation. The role of cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, should also not be overlooked as they help the body eliminate excess hormones, preventing imbalances that can stress the prostate. And what should we limit instead? All those foods that increase inflammation: refined sugars, processed meats, fried foods, excessive alcohol. A total renunciation is not necessary, but it is essential to understand that the prostate is like a sponge. It absorbs the consequences of what we regularly introduce. Movement. Circulation as the lifeblood. The second pillar is physical activity. It's not about becoming athletes, but about understanding a key concept. Circulation is life. The prostate receives blood through small vessels that easily fall asleep if we spend too many hours sitting, especially with incorrect posture. This slowdown in flow causes stagnation, a feeling of heaviness, swelling, and worsens urinary symptoms typical of prostatic hypertrophy. Simple actions are enough to reverse the trend. A daily walk, 20 to 30 minutes at a brisk pace, activates the muscle pump in the legs and gets the blood moving again. A few minutes of stretching, perhaps in the morning, relieve tension in the lower back that often compresses the pelvis. There are also targeted pelvic floor exercises known as male Kegel exercises. They consist of contracting and releasing the muscles we use to stop the urinary flow. If practiced consistently, they improve bladder control, support erections, and strengthen the structures surrounding the prostate. It's invisible but very powerful exercise. The body does not need extraordinary performance, but regularity. Every day that we stimulate movement, even with only moderate activity, we send a clear message to the prostate: I keep you active, I bring you oxygen, I nourish you with new blood. Sleep as hormonal medicine. Third pillar, rest. Most men do not directly link sleep to prostate health, yet the connection is very strong. During deep sleep phases, the body produces testosterone at its highest levels. This hormone is essential not only for sexuality, but also for metabolism, body fat distribution, and the body's resistance to inflammation. When sleep is poor or fragmented, testosterone levels drop, while cortisol and insulin increase, two factors that fuel prostate enlargement. Many men over 60 report frequent awakenings, difficulty falling asleep, or shallow sleep. They often link these disturbances directly to the prostate, but the gland is not always solely responsible. Poor evening habits, screen exposure late into the night, warm or noisy environments contribute to breaking sleep cycles. Creating an evening routine is one of the most powerful tools. Reduce blue light, keep the room cool and dark, avoid caffeine and alcohol in the hours before. Small adjustments like drinking relaxing herbal teas or using magnesium can promote deeper sleep. It's not a luxury, it's a biological necessity that directly regulates the hormones involved in prostate health. Inflammation, the silent enemy. The fourth pillar concerns chronic inflammation, a condition that millions of men experience without knowing it. So-called chronic non-bacterial prostatitis causes pain, pressure in the pelvic area, frequent urination, and disturbed sleep. It is not always due to infections. Often, it is the result of a lifestyle that fuels general inflammatory processes. What triggers them? A diet rich in sugars and saturated fats, sedentary lifestyle, continuous stress, smoking, alcohol. Overweight also plays a role. Adipose tissue, especially abdominal, is not inert but produces inflammatory molecules that worsen prostate health. Reducing inflammation means acting on multiple fronts: improving diet, moving more, sleeping better, and learning to manage emotional tensions. Not by chance, several clinical studies have shown how programs based on anti-inflammatory diets and relaxation techniques bring more relief than drugs in certain cases of chronic prostatitis. And here we return to a fundamental point: regular ejaculation. When it occurs in a context of well-being, it helps eliminate secretions and maintain low levels of inflammation. But if the overall lifestyle does not support health, the benefits are drastically reduced. Emotional stress and the burden of shame. There's an even more delicate aspect, the psychological one. Many men of the current generation carry with them a burden of shame related to masturbation. Raised with the idea that it was a wrong act, a sign of weakness or sin, they struggle to experience it as a natural gesture. This inner tension is not harmless. Every time the brain perceives guilt or fear, the body responds by producing cortisol, increasing inflammation and reducing hormonal function. In practice, the emotional burden nullifies part of the physical benefits. Freeing oneself from this chain means accepting that one is not doing anything harmful, but responding to a biological need as old as humanity. Living it with serenity and without judgment transforms an intimate act into a gesture of self-care. We've discussed diet, movement, sleep, and managing inflammation. Now, there's a topic that often worries those over 60. Is it safe to continue practicing self-pleasure if you suffer from chronic conditions? Many men live with high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, cardiovascular problems, or already have an enlarged prostate. Some fear that frequent ejaculation could worsen symptoms or create complications. But what does clinical experience say? Self-pleasure in the presence of chronic illnesses. The answer, in most cases, is reassuring. There is no evidence that moderate ejaculation worsens conditions like hypertension, diabetes, or benign prostatic hyperplasia. On the contrary, by promoting circulation and keeping the pelvic muscles active, it can even improve quality of life. Naturally, there are particular situations where caution is needed. If you have recently undergone prostate or urinary tract surgery, it is essential to follow the recovery times established by your doctor. The same applies if you are taking medications that affect libido or blood pressure. In those cases, the body's response may be different, and it is advisable to discuss it with a specialist. But generally speaking, for a man living with a well-controlled chronic illness, ejaculation remains a safe act. In fact, it can become an integral part of the management strategy. It reduces stress, stimulates beneficial hormones, and keeps tissues active that would otherwise experience a loss of function. The importance of listening to your body. There is no right number of times. What matters is listening to the signals. If afterward you feel drained, irritable, or have difficulty recovering, it means you are asking your body for more than it can give. If, on the other hand, you perceive lightness, relaxation, and a sense of well-being, it means that the rhythm is appropriate for your biology. Self-pleasure is not a competition. It is not a demonstration of virility, but a form of maintenance and contact with oneself. The more you learn to listen to your body, the more you will discover that there is a personal balance that also changes with the seasons of life. Recap. what we have learned. At this point, we can summarize the fundamental points. Regular ejaculation helps to cleanse the ducts of the prostate, preventing the stagnation of secretions that can fuel inflammation. It reduces cortisol levels, the stress hormone, promoting a state of relaxation that protects the heart, immune system, and the prostate itself. It stimulates blood circulation and nervous activity in the pelvic area, preventing tissue deterioration. It is more effective when integrated into a healthy lifestyle, consisting of a balanced diet, regular movement, quality sleep, and stress management. It is not harmful in the presence of well controlled chronic diseases, and in many cases, it even proves beneficial. These concepts completely change the way we look at male sexuality after 60. It is not a taboo, it is not a vice, it is not a practice to be ashamed of. It is an integral part of health. Mind and body, breaking the wall of shame. An obstacle that often remains stronger than biology is culture. Many men have internalized the idea that masturbation is an immature act, something to abandon with youth. This view generates shame and guilt, emotions that, as we have seen, have a direct impact on physical health. Freeing oneself from these patterns is perhaps the biggest step towards well being. It means recognizing that taking care of one's sexuality is not a sign of weakness, but of responsibility. It is accepting that the body does not stop having biological needs just because its chronological age has changed. When a man manages to experience self pleasure without guilt, he discovers that the body responds better. Less tension, more relaxation, more internal harmony. It is a virtuous cycle that strengthens not only the prostate, but the entire organism. Beyond self pleasure, lifestyle is medicine. Because the truth is simple, no single practice is enough. Prostate health after 60 is the result of many pieces put together every day. Eat foods that protect: cooked tomatoes, oily fish, green vegetables. Avoid excesses, alcohol, sugars, smoking. Move consistently, walk, stretch, practice pelvic exercises. Sleep deeply, create an evening ritual that allows the body to regenerate. Reduce stress, breathing, meditation, or hobbies that bring joy. When these elements combine, the prostate finds its balance, and self pleasure simply becomes a natural part of this system, one of the many ways the body receives care. A new vision for men over 60: sexuality does not disappear with age. It changes, it transforms, it requires more attention and more delicacy, but it remains a vital force that accompanies life. Learning to live it with awareness is a form of wisdom, not obstinacy. Every man deserves to know that he is not abnormal if he still has desire, and he is not wrong if he continues to touch himself. On the contrary, it is a sign that the body is alive, that the mechanisms are working, and that nature is doing its job. Conclusion and call to action. At the end of this journey, I hope you have understood a clear message. The prostate does not need silence or taboos. It needs balance and care. Self pleasure after 60, if lived with serenity and integrated into a healthy lifestyle, is a useful and natural tool for maintaining health. If this content has been useful to you, I invite you to do three things. Leave a like to support the work of spreading male health information. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to not miss the next content. If you want to concretely support this project, you can also do so with super thanks below the video. A small gesture that helps to spread messages free from taboos and fears. Remember, your health is in your hands. With small daily gestures, you can influence the future of your prostate and your quality of life. Don't let shame or false myths hold you back. Embrace this part of yourself with maturity and respect. The journey doesn't end here. The next step is to continue building daily habits that protect your body long term. The next video will guide you through morning habits that strengthen the prostate after 60, simple actions to do upon waking to give your day a solid foundation of health. You have an opportunity to transform a private gesture into a true alliance with your biology. You are not alone. Millions of men like you are rediscovering the value of self-care consciously. Start today.